What's up, everybody? This is your boy TL. This is your Week 15 fantasy preview. Week 15, that's crazy. There's only 3 weeks left in the season, 2 weeks in most fantasy formats. An update on me, I'm in 9 leagues, as you know. I made the playoffs in 8 out of 9, which isn't bad. So I haven't been eliminated from any leagues yet, so I have 8 out of 9 games this week. This week, I recommend six quarterbacks, 12 running backs, 7 wide receivers, 5 tight ends, and 5 defenses for you to pick up / play. The 5 defenses are Seattle, the 49ers, Buffalo, Kansas City, and Carolina. The quarterbacks are Kirk Cousins, McCown from the Bears, also Cutler because I'm not sure who's starting, Jason Campbell from the Browns, Alex Smith, and Phillip Rivers. Cousins, obviously, they're benching RG3 for the rest of the year, so Cousins will be starting. Cousins has looked impressive in the past, not necessarily this year, but if he can get back to that form that he showed last year, he could be a valuable play depending on how desperate you are at quarterback. I like pretty much the whole Bears offense, so regardless of who's playing, McCown or Cutler, I think they'll both produce. Basically, I mean, it's having Marshall and Jeffrey to throw to just isn't fair, and Forte in the backfield is just nasty. So either of those guys are nice plays. I'm not sure who's going to play the Browns this week, but either of them work. Jason Campbell surprised me. I think he started 4 games now. 3 of those 4 games he's played well. So well, in fact, he's good enough to play in fantasy. So, like I said, depending on how desperate you are, you could plug him in. Last 2 is Alex Smith and Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers has been on fire all year. That continued last week. He's playing Thursday night against the Broncos. I look for him to have a good game. He's been putting up good numbers all year, but especially if he's behind with Denver, he's going to be throwing a lot, and I think he can light up their secondary pretty well. And Alex Smith had a nice game this past week. He's slowly been passing more and more in Andy Reid's offense. That's good to see. The 12 running backs that I like is Shane Vereen, Marcel Reese, Jaquan Bell from the Lions, Daniel Thomas, Rainey from the Bucks, Nile Davis, Toby Gerhart, Sean Green, Monte Ball, Andre Brown, Danny Woodhead, and Ryan Matthews. Shane Vereen leads the Patriots in targets. That's with Gronk in. Now Gronk is out. Brady loves Vereen. He trusts him. Obviously, he throws him the ball a ton. So especially in a PPR league, he's money. Marcel restarted the game because Darren McFadden and Jennings was out, and he had a really good game. I think over 100 yards and a touchdown, so that was pretty impressive for a fullback. Jaquan Bell started for Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush was a last-minute scratch. He had a pretty good game as well. Daniel Thomas, I think, had over 100 and a touchdown for the Dolphins. Out-carried Lamar Miller by far. Rainey had a good game. He had about 120 and a touchdown for the Bucks. Nile Davis, the Chiefs are slowly but surely getting more trust in him as a backup running back for Jamal Charles. So I see not for him to take away Charles's touches, but especially when they're up big, they should be this week with Oakland. They're going to take out Charles just to save him from injury and put in Niles Davis, and he's pretty good. Toby Gerhart, he's a great play because AP most likely is out this week, and Gerhart showed last week that he can be effective. He had about 70 yards and a touchdown. So he's a really good play this week. Sean Green had 2 touchdowns for the Titans. They're kind of splitting carries with him and Chris Johnson. Anytime somebody scores twice, it's worth looking at. Monte Ball has been getting a decent share of the carries in Denver. Denver's up a lot, so they need to run the ball in the second half. Obviously, those carries are going to go to Marino and Ball. And Ball has been scoring the past couple weeks, so he's a good plug. Andre Brown has produced every week for the Giants. Nothing's going to change. Danny Woodhead had a really nice game last week. He had like 50 yards rushing, 50 yards receiving, and a touchdown. So he's nice to have, especially in PPR. And last but not least, Ryan Matthews. He had a good game last week. Obviously, you don't trust Ryan Matthews. He's been up and down his whole career. But if he's available, depending on the situation, you can pick him up. Moving on to receivers. I have 7 receivers I like. Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, Rod Streeter, Cordero Patterson from the Vikings, Marlon Brown, Justin Hunter, and Crabtree from the 49ers. Edelman and Amendola are plays because Gronk is gone. So all the passes are going to go to Amendola, Edelman, and Vereen, period. Rod Streeter, he's been up and down all season. He had a good game this week, and in my opinion, he's the closest thing the Raiders have to a number one receiver. So he's not a bad play. Cordarrelle Patterson had his best game by far. He had about 140 yards receiving and a touchdown. I'm not sure if that's because of the snow or if it's a fluke, but he had a good game. Marlon Brown continues to have a solid rookie season for the Ravens. Justin Hunter also has been coming on. He had over 100 yards and a touchdown, so he is definitely worth a look. And last but not least, Crabtree. Crabtree came from back from that injury, and he's officially back into the fold. He's getting, I think he had 8 targets this week, and he's into the offense. He's grooving. He looks like his old self, and so that should be good going forward. And last but not least, tight ends. I have 5 tight ends that I like. Graham from the Texans, Jordan Cameron from the Browns, Clay from the Dolphins, Dennis Pitta, and Greg Olsen. The reason for these, Graham has been consistently producing for the Texans. They love him. I guess he must have good hands because they throw to him a ton. Jordan Cameron is a stud anyways, but especially this week. If you look at the Bears' defense, they do 2 things. They give up big stats to tight ends, and they give up big stats to running backs. And guess Jordan Cameron's a tight end, so forget about it. Clay, I have him in my money league. He blew up last week. He had 2 touchdowns against the Steelers, and he's really coming into his own. His quarterback obviously trusts him, and he's a really good athlete, so I like him as a play. Dennis Pitta has been out most of the season. He came back. Flacco loves throwing to him, and so that's going to continue the rest of the season. And last but not least, Greg Olsen. Greg Olsen is like Old Faithful. He catches everything. Cam Newton loves him and throws to him all the time, so he's definitely a strong play. But that's all I got, guys. I wish you guys the best of luck in the playoffs, and I'll holler at you next week, and wish me the best of luck in my 8 playoff games. All right? Take it easy. Peace.